Hello and welcome to the Culture Swally, a podcast dedicated to Scottish news and pop culture. My name is Nicky, and I'm joined, as always, by the man whose riding position has also been outlawed by WCF rules and by his wife. It's Greg. How are you today, buddy?
I was trying to think of something sexy that WC thing they could stand for there, but I wasn't quick enough. Yeah, I'm good.
Oh, yeah.
I'm all good. How are you?
Yeah, all good. Thank you. All good. It feels weird. It's been so long since we've recorded because obviously we banked Doomsday before we met up in Scotland.
We did, yeah.
It's been like 3.5 weeks because we're actually recording this half a week later than we normally would. So, yeah, it's been ages, but it's all good. We had a wonderful time in Scotland, didn't we?
We had a cracking time. The weather, apart from the Tuesday when we arrived, and it was a wee bit wet, which was fine. Well, it was fine for me because obviously I live in the desert and getting a little bit of comparatively fresher air and a wee bit of rain. It's quite nice for a wee change, but the weather stayed nice and dry for us on the Wednesday and the Thursday. We had a good time at the Mannix and Suede before a wee day on the Lash in Glasgow meeting some weird and wonderful characters.
Yeah, we certainly did. We had a lovely time. Got to meet the wonderful Ali from Scots Way podcast.
Yeah. So he was, when I said weird and wonderful, he was like the wonderful part of that.
Oh yes, yeah. There was some weird characters we met. It really struck me coming back to Amsterdam and stuff, like the fact that, you know, every pub we went into in Glasgow, basically somebody spoke to us. And I had a strange connection with this random woman who, it turned out, I knew her ex-husband. I'd actually worked with him in Dubai. And absolutely bizarre. Yeah. And he's a world-renowned golf coach as well. So it was...
That's right.
It was just mental.
I'd forgotten those details of that conversation. I remember it was a little difficult to extract ourselves, but when I was talking to her new fella, it turned out him and I knew a couple of the same people, including the brother of somebody who mysteriously fell out of a window about 20 years ago in Glasgow, which I hadn't thought about for a long time. But yeah, I mean, they were nice. It was a little difficult to extract ourselves. They had a nice little dog, didn't they? What kind of dog was it again? A little basset or something?
It's a basset hound, yeah.
She was shy, but she was lovely.
Yeah, she was. But yeah, it was difficult to, as you say, extract ourselves because obviously they wouldn't stop talking because they were coked off their tits. But anyway,
coked off their tits and apparently on a hurry to get home to put the dinner on, which I don't know if that's some kind of new drug terminology. To get up the road to put the dinner on and then do the washing up.
We also had a revelation when we were in Scotland as well, Greg. I got you a little birthday present, didn't I?
You did. The best birthday present a boy could ask for.
And it is official, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just going to let the big man say it himself.
Hello, Greg. It's James Cosmo here, patron saint of the Culture Swally.
And there we have it. James Cosmo, officially the patron saint of the Culture Swally.
Yeah. We'll be coming back to James Cosmo just after the news to find out.
Oh, fantastic.
About his 4-yearly tradition. I watched something interesting the other day, which is quite Scotland adjacent. I think a documentary film by Johnny Owen, who's quite a well-known sports documentary filmmaker. And it's called Three Kings. And it's about Matt Busby, Jock Stein and Bill Shankly, obviously all three coming from quite similar Scottish backgrounds, mining towns and stuff, and it's just about their careers. It's really, really good because it shows there's actually a little bit of footage of the three of them playing sort of post-war. The thing that really interested me with an interview with Matt Busby when he's quite an early interview and he's talking about football, and he said that Scotland actually invented the passing game of football because before that in England it was just sort of kick and run, you know, like kind of big sides, and it was you know, like when you see like there's a town in the West Midlands called Atherstone and they have like the Atherstone ball game once a year, and basically you can find footage of it on YouTube. Basically like the whole town seems to come out with a big heavy ball and they just like throw it up and down and beat the absolute living shit out of each other. Right? Honestly. I'm not making it up. If anybody's super keen, drop us a DM in Instagram and I'll copy and paste some YouTube links if you want to see it. But like the football sort of started off a bit like that before it evolved into what it is now. And arguably all three of these managers played a massive part in how football is played now in the 2020s. But I found it interesting when Busby was saying that it was actually the Scots who invented the passing game, short passes, to keep the ball moving, getting into positions and things. And we were playing that kind of football when the English were still playing their huge side kick and run style of football. So there we go.
Wonderful. That's another thing that we invented.
Just making life better for everybody for centuries, the Scots.
Yeah.
So we
certainly have been. I actually had a news article I rejected this week that was about the unknown Scottish inventions, or like lesser known Scottish inventions. But I'll try. I've opened it up now. There was a couple that I was like, oh wow. In fact, did you know that Scotland gave the world the first pedal bicycle? Which is quite relevant to what we're going to be talking about later on today.
Well, very relevant, I would say.
Maybe I should have done that. The fax machine was also a Scottish invention.
Right.
Fingerprint analysis was a Scottish invention as well. Of course, Dolly the sheep, so cloning. This will come as no shock. It was an Edinburgh-based physician who invented the hypodermic needle. And still very well used in Edinburgh to this day. Yeah. Anyway, and here's what I never knew. Did you know that a Scot invented Bovril?
Bovril?
Bovril is Scottish. Yeah.
It kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it, actually?
Big steaming hot mug of gravy at the football.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Yeah. Anyway, well, that is a news story that I rejected. However, I do have a couple of news stories that I have selected for this episode. So shall we have a look at what's been happening in Scotland over the last couple of weeks, Greg?
Cue the jingle.
Hello, this is the Outer Hebrides Broadcasting Corporation, and here is what's been going on in the news.
Okay, Greg, what have you seen first this week that you'd like to share with me and our lovely listeners?
So my first story comes from the Daily Record on the 24th of June. And the headline, well, I would say that the story is a headline writer's wet dream. So the headline reads, Cowdenbeath chaos as herd halts traffic on Scottstown's High Street. The farm animals were seen roaming the streets of Cowdenbeath on Tuesday, with stunned locals sharing footage of the incident on social media. As the cattle took to the town, queues of vehicles were seen being held up on either side of the road. Video footage shows the cows roaming through the streets of the Fife town as they appeared to have escaped from a nearby farm. I think that's probably exactly what's happened there. Writing on Facebook, stunned local Louise Scott said, "They've been going crazy all morning, the poor things. I heard them making some noise." A statement from the Temple Hall Cafe, perhaps from their PR department, heard them from the football ground. They're pretty harmless. I hope they had a good day out. I'm surprised there were 3 of them. Looks like there's more in the picture. Janie Mackey said, "They were munching away on the grass for a wee while." I mean, obviously not a lot happens in Cowdenbeath, evidently. Amy Niles said, "We were held up for some time on the main street because of them, but they look so cute and happy. The delay was worth it." There's a lot more than 3 cows. There's about, I would say, without counting them individually, but 12. It comes after a separate herd of cows caused mayhem for railway commuters on Monday morning. About 12 of the animals were seen blocking a set of tracks on the Edinburgh to Glasgow line near Lenzie. An image shared by Network Rail showed the black and white animals looking cosy at the side of the track, with no apparent sign of them moving on. The Network Rail statement said, "Sorry if you're being delayed on the Edinburgh to Glasgow main line this morning near Lenzie. We're dealing with a herd of 12 cows who found their way onto the railway." So Cowdenbeath under a bit of a mini siege. I wonder if Jerry Scott's going to write a wee song about it. What do you think?
Yeah, a siege of cows. That's we should have had that in the last episode for Doomsday, because there was obviously that scene with all the cows.
Yeah.
Have you ever encountered runaway cows or anything?
No, I mean, I have had experiences with cows. They're
yeah, I can think of one.
Yeah, I can think of a couple. Yeah, I mean, I remember, I've probably mentioned this in the podcast before, but my old flatmate Dale, when him and I were at school before we were flatmates, he lived in the countryside, and if I went out to stay with him for a weekend or whatever, we'd be roaming about, and we've kind of cut through the odd field of cows, and because they're inquisitive, they'll sort of hurry over to get a closer look at you, which was a bit unnerving. I mean, like, if you stand your ground or you make any sign that you're going to move towards them, they tend to stop. Unless they're bulls, of course, and then you're fucked. But if they're lady cows, they'll tend to stop and sort of turn back in fright. But when they're sort of bearing down on you, just even though you know that the worst thing they can do is trample you, which is pretty fucking bad, actually. Come on, I fancy getting trampled by a herd of cows, I
remember, this was when I was a kid. So I can't remember the full story, and I probably wouldn't be able to find it online, but I must have only been about 8 or 9 or something at the time. And it made the front page of the Evening Express. Our postie, who was called Jim, it was Jim the postie, he got rammed by a bull. A bull had escaped a field or something and was roaming around. I don't know where. I can't remember exactly where. But I mean, he was our postie, so he must have been. A postie has an area, so it must have been around the Hazelhead kind of Woodend area. And this bull, it was in a close, and just fucking went for him and rammed into him. And he was off work for about 3 months or something. But it was the front page of the Evening Express.
Fucking hell. I wouldn't fancy that much. When you said he got rammed by a bull, I thought you meant something else there.
No.
Be off work for a lot longer than 3 months if that happened.
He got charged by a bull, I should have said, maybe. Would have been the better. That's probably the better terminology.
Well, so that's the errant cows of Cowdenbeath. Okay, so that was my first story in this episode of the Culture Swally. What's your first story this week?
My first story comes from the Scottish Sun this week, Greg, and the headline is Royal Blunder. One of Scotland's best-loved museums left visitors disappointed after a bizarre mix-up over its name. A woman, known only as Emma M, left a 3-star review on TripAdvisor following a trip to the Burrell Collection in Glasgow. She made a round trip of over 400 miles from her home in Whitby, Yorkshire, to visit what she had hoped was a museum dedicated to royal butler Paul Burrell and the late Princess Diana.
No, she never. Surely not.
The renowned visitors attraction, named after its founders, Sir William Burrell and Lady Constance Burrell, houses a 9,000-piece art collection spanning the world and renowned after a 5-year, 68.2 million refit in 2022. But the bizarre review showed the haphazard visitors were unaware. The post said, "Where's she from? Yorkshire. Came because we wanted to see the collection of letters, clothes, household items and jewellery the late Princess Diana gave and left her butler and rock Paul Burrell." We're big Diana fans, and we were looking forward to an afternoon of royal magic.
She must be taking surely.
Just to make others aware, this museum has nothing to do with Lady Di, and it is not Paul Burrell's collection of her items. It's a lovely venue, though. The tea was nice, but they need to clarify that it has nothing to do with Paul Burrell, Princess Diana, or the royal family, so others aren't disappointed like we were. Mr. Burrell, 66, became a footman for Queen Elizabeth II when he was just 18. He then became a butler for Charles and Diana in 1987, and the late Princess of Wales described him as her rock during the hard times. It's not the first time that visitors have been left disappointed by Scottish tourist attractions. We told recently that tourists left a 1-star review for Loch Ness, complaining that they failed to spot the monster. The man, known only as Ron, said, "What a disappointment. We travelled 400 miles from Grimsby to see the Loch Ness Monster, and it didn't show up. Don't go if you're wanting to see it, because you'll end up bitterly disappointed like we were. Meanwhile, a reviewer from Coatbridge, Lanarkshire, complained about a lack of toilets and shops at the summit of Ben Nevis. He also hit out about snow on top of the mountain, adding, "Won't be long till someone has an accident."
Hit out.
A bemused traveller, Henry from Stockholm, said that the top of the hill was just a pile of rocks, and he was left stunned that there wasn't a pub at the summit. He added, "My girlfriend vomited 5 times on the way up because of exhaustion and fear of heights. We lost several hours of our lives climbing this hill for nothing. No views of anything, since the summit is just in constant fog. The top is literally a pile of rocks and an emergency shelter, and there is no pub on the top." One visitor to Edinburgh Castle told visitors to avoid the monument. Their 1-star review said, "It looks good from outside, but once you're inside, you quickly question your choice of being there. I tell you, avoid it." So, that review has to be a piss take for the Buddle collection. It has to be.
I was interested that the one achievement that the Sun left off of Paul Burrell's list of achievements is that he once ate a kangaroo's knob on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here in 2004.
I knew you were going to say something about I'm a Celebrity, but I didn't know it was going to be the kangaroo's knob.
Do you know, on Ben Nevis, I'm saying not that long ago, maybe like sort of 20 years or so ago, some people found a piano near the summit of Ben Nevis, and it was a bit of a mystery. It was a bit of a mystery to begin with, but then some people remembered that a kind of strong man in an attempted feat of endurance pushed a piano to the top of Ben Nevis, like maybe pre-war or something like that. And apparently he made it to the top, but as far as he could go with it, and then when they faced with the prospect of taking it back down, he was like, "Fuck that!" Just left it, and cut himself back down. But yeah, it was. I think it sort of slipped out of memory. I think, and then somebody kind of found the local paper, or maybe even like the national paper or something of the time, like some information about it.
Surely it'd be easier to take it down than it would be taking it up. You've done the hard work. You can just push it down, surely.
Yeah, it's going to be able to tune and all that into it. Fucking point.
Exactly, yeah.
Take longer to tune it than, unless you get Morgan Freeman round, who apparently can tune a piano in 2 minutes and teach a fucking hard as fuck Asian guy how to do it in 2 minutes as well. You have to go back to a previous episode of the Culture Swally to know what we're talking about there.
Yes, I can't remember the number of the episode, but that's Unleashed. We did that this year, didn't we? So it was earlier this year.
Yeah, it was a few months ago.
Yeah. So that is the Buddle collection. So that is a warning if anyone was wanting to go to the Buddle collection. It's nothing to do with Paul Buddle and Queen of Hearts, Lady Di.
All there is priceless works of art, you know. That's all there is. Really.
It's quite boring, really. I was hoping to see like a hanky or a letter that Di had written to Paul Buddle, calling him her rock. Yeah. Not the Dwayne Johnson, just to make that clear.
That's not even a pub.
Yeah, there's not even a pub in the Buddle collection, no. But they serve a lovely cup of tea. So that is my first story this week, Greg. What else have you seen from Scotland?
Well, from one disappointed tourist to another. This comes from the Daily Record again on the 22nd of July. And the headline reads, "Tourist in Scotland ghosted by hinge date after getting matching tattoos." Cora Hayes was backpacking across Europe when she matched with Jack online, and they met up in Edinburgh. So the story begins. A singleton got matching tattoos with a bloke on their first hinge date, only for him to ghost her for coming on too strong when she took a plane for a second date. Cora Hayes was backpacking across Europe when she matched with Jack online, and they met up in Edinburgh, with the pair opting to get the exact same lemon tattoo within 24 hours of meeting. The pair had an instant connection and decided to meet again after the 22-year-old completed her trip down to England. However, after planning a romantic getaway and forking out £140 to fly from Birmingham back to Edinburgh, the retail assistant was left in a panic when she was ghosted just 2 days before the flight. Despite not knowing anyone else in Scotland, Cora decided to fly back on the 20th of June anyway, and heard absolutely nothing from Jack, who later blamed her for coming on too strong. The 22-year-old managed to make the best out of an awful situation by befriending 2 other girls in her hostel who she convinced to get the same lemon tattoo so they could change the story. Talking to TikTok, Cora shared a clip explaining the situation, captioned, "I cannot believe this happened," before showing the lemon tattoo and putting her hand over her mouth in disbelief. Another clip shows the solo traveller standing in an Edinburgh hostel, captioned, "Currently in a hostel 17,000 kilometres away from home with nothing but the clothes on my back and this bag. Still vibing though." The retail assistant, who's from Melbourne in Australia, was disappointed that her 4-day whirlwind romance with Jack came to an abrupt end, as they had planned to visit the Scottish Highlands together. While Jack initially blamed family issues on cancelling their plans and ghosting her, Cora believes he was just making that up because he later admitted that she had come on too strong. However, she believes spending 4 days in Scotland again without him and meeting new people was empowering, and says that Jack would never forget her now because of the tattoo. Cora said, I'm not going to try and do an Australian accent because it'll just be uncomfortable for the listeners and you and embarrassing for me. Yeah. It certainly won't be as good as your Yorkshire accent. Cora said, "We had an instant connection. I got along well with them and we hit it off. When I got to Birmingham, I thought it could turn into something. We started talking about tattoos at the bar, and one of his friends was joking and saying that Jack would never get one, but he said that he would. I said I'd get one too, and it became a joke of the night that we'd get one the next day. The next day came round and we went to a tattoo parlour and got matching tattoos of a little lemon. There was no reason, but we both agreed on a lemon and got the exact same tattoo at the same time together. I messaged him saying I had some spare time while travelling and that I could come back. He said, yeah, come back, I'd love to see you again. We spent the next few days planning what we were going to do. We were going to drive up to the Highlands in Scotland, so we both agreed that I would come back. I booked flights, and during this whole thing, we were in constant communication. I sent him my flight details and made sure the days worked and everything. Throughout the whole time, we were still messaging and things were going well. However, the Singleton claimed, you don't hear a lot of that word these days, Singleton, do you? The Singleton claims that Jack cancelled their plans just 2 days before her flight, blaming it on family issues before ghosting her completely and leaving Cora in a panic with no accommodation booked. Cora said, it got to 2 days before I fly out and his messages started getting less frequent and just randomly. No issue had happened. I sort of had an inkling. Then I got a message saying, hey, I'm really sorry. Family things have come up. I can't do this weekend. I hope you get home safe. He knew I wasn't going back to Australia for a month, but he didn't try and move the dates. I believe he made it up because he later apologised and said he felt that I'd come on too strong and he didn't want to get hurt because I live in Australia. Who would make up a lie instead of just being honest? I don't quite know how to tell Cora this.
Any man.
Any 22-year-old boy who's trying to have sex with a girl and also has a girlfriend. This was our first and last contact after the ghosting, which started on the 19th of June, the day before I flew, and continued the whole time I was in Edinburgh. I was in real panic mode. I didn't know what to do, and if I should go back and just not see him. But the 22-year-old decided to go anyway. She shared a hostel room with 2 girls for 4 nights who also got matching lemon tattoos with her. So there, it's got a nice ending there. I think she's made 2 new friends. It's quite a nice wee tattoo, that little lemon tattoo. It's quite cute, quite cute for a girl. Don't think Jack had to get it really. Don't think it quite suits the boys. But anyway, I think she's sort of taken it well, I would say. A little bit naive, perhaps.
She's made the best of it in terms of it sounds like she had a good time. She's got 2 other friends to get the lemon tattoo as well. And, Jack's, he's met somebody else on Hinge, probably, whilst she's been away.
Or get back with his girlfriend.
And now he's got a lemon tattoo to always remind her. That's quite unfortunate, Jack, because that instantly makes me think of Lemon Party. Which
I never thought about that for a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while, but so that popped into my head for some reason.
Well, Well, Cora's changed the story, Nicky. She's changed the story. So,
Yeah.
good for her.
Yeah, she has. No, good for her. And, Jack, what a shit.
Yeah.
Like, at least I can understand if she lived in the same city or something and kind of thing, but she's making the effort to fly back and, it's just going to be for a few days and then you're never going to see her again anyway. So,
Well, yeah.
just fill your boots for a few days and then off she goes. But yeah, something else has happened there with Jack.
Fill your boots for a few days, for goodness sake. The thing is, right, there's a picture of Jack and Cora in the tattoo parlour holding up their new tattoos, and they've had them done on their kind of inner bicep, like where you've got a tattoo in your inner bicep. They're going to sort of same place and they're holding up their inner biceps together. But Jack's face has been blurred out to protect his anonymity. However, Scotland is not a very big country. The Daily Record is probably the best-selling tabloid newspaper in Scotland. He's got quite a distinct tattoo of a lemon on his inner bicep. I don't think it will take anybody long who knows him to know that he is the Jack that ghosted Cora on Hinge, Yeah,
that's a very good point, actually. Yeah, I don't think there's many other 22-year-old men kicking around that'll have a lemon party tattoo in their arm. Kids, if you don't know what lemon party is, don't Google it. It'll scar you for life.
Well,
unless you're an elderly man.
Anyway, young men, treat women with respect, because I've got two daughters who are in their teens who will soon be moving into leaving home and going out into the world. And if I find out anybody has tricked my daughter into getting a tattoo and then ghosted her on Hinge, I will fucking hunt you down and kick your fucking teeth in.
It sounds like it was Cora's idea, though.
Doesn't matter, Nicky, it doesn't matter.
Oh, okay.
If Cora's dad was any type of man, he'd be in the first plane from Australia, he'd be trawling the bars of Edinburgh, looking for this young guy with a little lemon tattoo in his inner bicep to ask him who the fuck he thinks he is.
Okay, valid point. I have no daughters, so I don't know.
Oh, imagine your little dog Bobby was tricked by a lady dog and he met her at the park. They had a really nice time running around the park together. They really hit it off. They decide, they joke all day about getting matching tattoos, right? The next day, they go to the dog tattoo parlour. They get matching tattoos. They make plans to meet up again. And then the day before, Bobby gets a call saying, "You're coming on too strong." And Bobby's little heart would be broken. You'd be fucking furious.
Yeah, it would be. You're right. But then I would just take him to the dog park and he'd meet another.
Yeah.
I could say another bitch, but he would just, he'd meet another young lady.
Yeah.
And
yeah. It's not easy.
Fine.
It's not easy being a parent.
No, I'm sure it's not.
Anyway, that's my second story this week, and a little bit of nonsense tagged on at the end just for good measure. What's your next story this week?
So my next story is a bit of a non-story, but the reason I've picked it is because this is kind of the stories we envisaged when we came up with the Swally as like, how the fuck has this made the newspaper? But it also has a belter of a quote that I just wanted to say this quote. So that's why I'm saying it. So this is from Edinburgh Live this week. And the headline is, Edinburgh Greggs customer stumped on arriving to find surprising note on door. An Edinburgh Greggs customer was left stumped after noticing his local store was suddenly closed. Greggs, in Davidson, Mains, has told customers that the store is temporarily shut with a paper sign on the door. One local was heading up there for lunch when he noticed the sign and had to head home disappointed and sausage roll-less. He told Edinburgh Live he was planning on getting a snack with his son on Friday afternoon, but he was gutted when he saw the shop was closed. He said he had to totally rethink the lunch plan for himself and his toddler. The resident said, "I headed down to Davy Mains for my sausage roll with a bairn, and I was gutted when I got to the doors. The wee man loves a sausage roll with some beans on a Friday, but now I'm having to have a rethink. It's a real dilemma. It's going to have to be scrambled egg, beans and toast, or pancakes for lunch. It's left me stumped." The notice stuck to the front door apologised to customers and directed them to their next nearest branch, which It's Scotland. It's probably 2 streets away. The next Greg's.
It's probably closer to his house than the one that he went to.
The sign on the door said, "We're sorry, we've had to temporarily close the shop. We'll be back soon. Don't worry, our ovens are still baking at Pennywell and Boswell. Greg's have been contacted for a comment." That's it. But how the fuck is this made to newspaper? Some guy couldn't get his sausage roll. And I just I've had to totally rethink. It's going to have to be scrambled egg, beans and toast for lunch. Can't just go to the supermarket and get something else? No? She could go and get a frozen sausage roll or something. Or just go to the supermarket and get a sausage roll from the baker's.
Yeah, that's bizarre. It did make me think, though, since we've been doing the Culture Swally, which is... I think we're just past 4 years now. We've been doing that. I think we've had more stories about bakeries and public masturbation than anything else.
Yeah, there's been a lot of bakery stories, but that is, a baker is a staple. Hey, Henry, how you doing? Is a staple of Scottish society, though. I mean, look how many bakeries there was. I was even quite tempted. When we stayed in that Airbnb in Leith, there was a baker's around the corner, and you were like, that looks like a fucking manky baker's. But I was quite intrigued by it. Yeah,
it looks a wee bit sketchy, though. Like, I saw his cake selection when we were walking past one day. It looks a wee bit, didn't look great.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. I think bakers and public masturbation. That's a good point, right? Because I've explained the podcast to a few people over the last year or so. And when I say that we do Scottish news stories, but I say we don't cover serious like politics or anything, it's funny news stories.
Yeah.
I always have 3 that I go to, which is usually I'm like about a woman that got the wrong sauce in her kebab, or 2 80-year-old women who chase a robber out their ice cream shop with pool cues and a chair. And a guy that caught a Just Eat delivery driver wanking in his garden. That's my 3 go-tos that I usually reference. What would you reference as the kind of news stories we cover? Basically what you just said, bakers and wanking.
The safe full of porn.
Of course. Yeah, that's your favourite, isn't it?
My favourite, yeah. The lady who got trapped in her house by a sofa that she had delivered. And remember that one? That was one of yours as well, I think. And then a third one, probably the jobby on the frozen food box in Iceland.
That is one of my favourites, but I never know how to describe to someone I'm speaking to. There was a story about shite in the freezer in Iceland, but that is one of the funniest stories that I think we've covered as well.
Yeah.
It's so good.
A belter.
Oh, dear. Anyway, so that is the dilemma of the Greg's being closed. But yeah, I hope the wee man got his sausage roll or his scrambled eggs.
Yeah, me too.
On toast.
Me too.
Have you seen anything else this week, Greg?
I haven't, but I do have something to talk about. So last Friday, because we're recording this on the 31st of July, last Friday saw the opening of the Paris Olympics. The 2024 Paris Summer Olympics. And our patron, the aforementioned or earlier mentioned patron saint of the Swally, Nicky, you might not know, the patron saint, Lord James Cosmo of Dumbarton, loves the Olympics.
Does he? Oh.
He is Olympic staff. He makes sure that his agent keeps his Olympic fortnight free every year so he can enjoy all the sport on the BBC. Loves it especially when they're in Europe, because it means that times work out well for him when he's at home in Dumbarton watching it. His favourite events, perhaps unsurprisingly, are all the contact sports like boxing, judo, taekwondo. He's secretly a fan of the rhythmic gymnastics, but he watches that on his phone in the shed at the bottom of the garden. And for as long as any of his pals can remember, he's held the Cosmo Olympics, because he's got a decent-sized garden, about 1/4 of an acre. He always plans it on the day of the opening ceremony, so he has the events on the Friday afternoon, then he brings the telly out into the garden using the big extension, so everybody can watch the ceremony with a few cans. Bacardis for the women. Wi-Fi has been a godsend for Cosmo, because he used to fucking lose the place trying to get a signal with the old analogue TV aerial. One year Matt Costello had to stand holding it above his head for 4 hours, ended up pissing himself, had to drive home in soaking wet chinos. But now a wee signal booster is all that's needed to get a nice crisp picture with the tellies in the garden. So obviously this year is no exception. Cosmo he can't take part in all the games like he used to because he's getting on a wee bit. He's not as spry as he used to be. There's only one event that he takes part in, and I'm going to list the half dozen events that make up the Cosmo Olympics below, and let's see if you can guess which one it is, right? So he has a 50-metre dash, because the garden's not big enough for 100 metres. And nobody's really up to anything above 50 metres anyway. Freestyle wrestling. Beach volleyball. He borrows 100 weight of sand from the local builder who owes him a favour. Teams of 2 for the beach volleyball. Touch rugby. It never used to be touch. It was full contact, but Mrs. Cosmo put her foot down after Bobby Carlyle was knocked unconscious in 2000 by Daniela Nardini. So now it has to be touch rugby. Boxing, and then a big tug of war at the end. So which event do you think is Cosmo's favourite out of those ones?
I mean, you say nobody would do the 50-metre dash, but I bet if Guthrie turned up, he would be fucking legging it in 50 metres.
From Cosmo.
What was the second one?
Freestyle wrestling.
Yeah, that's what I reckon Cosmo takes part in.
Well, you're close. It's actually the boxing. Because he was
it's the boxing.
He was a keen amateur boxer as a young man. He used to have an archery event. But again, Mrs. Cosmo, she made him throw all these bows and arrows away nearly 20 years ago because of two incidents. In 1996, Jake Darcy put an arrow through Cosmo's neighbour's window after insisting that he could shoot an apple off a pish Dave Anderson's head after 8 cans of Tartan Special. And the final straw was in Hogmanay 2008 when Tom Conti shot a rabbit that he claimed was bothering Mrs. Cosmo's strawberries. Unfortunately for Conti, everybody knows strawberries don't grow in Scotland in January. And worse than that, the rabbit belonged to Cosmo's grandkids. Don Steele had let it out the hutch after one too many Cosmopolitans, which is James's trademark cocktail, but instead of vodka and Cointreau, he uses White and Mackay. Instead of cranberry juice, he uses Bar's Pineapple-Aid with a wee splash of Drambuie. Don had just
fancy one of those, actually.
Don had just waited in the garden after sharing a really skunky joint with Rory McCann, and she started slurring something about animal rights. Cosmo had been looking after the bunny because his family were away in Spain for Christmas. That turned out Conti was actually just showing off to Jerry Butler some skills he'd learned for a wee guest spot he'd got on an upcoming episode of BBC's Robin Hood programme with Jonas Armstrong. Nobody ever speaks about what happened between Cosmo and Conti afterwards, but suffice to say, Conti had to cancel his appearance in Robin Hood, and his son had to come and collect his car from in front of Cosmo's house the next day. Poor Cosmo was all over the west of Scotland on January the 2nd looking for an open pits at home with an identical rabbit before the grandkids came round. So I'm going to tell you the guest list for this year's Cosmo's Olympic party. Top of the guest list is cheeky chappy and occasional serious actor James McAvoy, his sister Joy McAvoy, who the Cosmos won't hear a bad word about, Matt Costello, of course, a redeemed Martin Compston who impressed Cosmo with his discipline and maturity on the Fear, but was still well warned at the point of receiving the invitation. Laura Fraser, who appears on our movie today, who's another one of the Cosmos favourites. She's a lovely lassie, Mrs. Cosmo always says.
Yeah.
Jerry Butler, who's home for a haircut and a visit to his Maz.
Hey.
Sorry. Aberdeen's favourite redhead, Rose Leslie. Kelly MacDonald, who always brings a really thoughtful present for Mrs. Cosmo. David Heyman. David Heyman's there to help Cosmo with the marshalling because Costello's too easily influenced / bullied. Joanna Vanderham. Costello's been begging Cosmo for months to invite her along. And WWE heavyweight champ Drew McIntyre, because Cosmo wants to see what all the fuss is about, and he also wants to make sure that Drew is on his tug-of-war team. Cosmo's saving himself for the boxing. Like I said before, he's planned to hold 2 heats. He's going to get McAvoy to box Compston, and Cosmo himself will box Butler, with the winners boxing each other. Little does Compston know that Butler's agreed to let Cosmo win, and McAvoy is going to let Compston win so Cosmo can batter him in the final. Because Cosmo's forgiveness has a limit, and he intends on taking the 50 quid it cost him to fix his toilet door out of Compston's coupon. So, which events do you think Cosmo has marked his guests for? They can compete in more than one event. Everybody will compete in the rugby and the tug-of-war, including the Cosmos themselves, but you have to decide who's going to be in whose team for the rugby and the tug-of-war. So, starting off with the 50-metre dash, who do you think Cosmo has put up from his guest list for the 50-metre dash? 4 people. Who are the best 4 out of that lot?
50-metre dash. Okay. I think, how many participants would there be? How big's the garden? Because, normally there'd be quite
it's a quarter of an acre.
How many?
It's about a quarter of an acre.
How many participants are able to run this event? The track?
I'd say probably 4.
4, okay. Yeah. I think that Cosmo's gonna, he's a lovely gentleman who is all about equality. So he's gonna have 2 men and 2 women running this race.
Okay.
And I think he's gonna put James and Joy McAvoy, because he likes the competition, brother and sister,
sibling rivalry
together. Yeah, there. He's going to put Costello in it just so he can laugh at Costello coming last, and he likes to punish Costello as well. And I think he's going to put Rose Leslie in it as well, just to because he'd like to see her running style.
Yeah, I think so.
Being a fellow redhead, she's obviously one of his favourites.
Absolutely. So who do you think is going to get the gold medal for the 50-metre dash then?
I think Rose Leslie is going to win it.
I think so. I think she's got grace, poise, and she's quite young. Joy McAvoy's not long had a baby. Don't know if she's back up to her sort of fighting weight yet or not. All right, so then the next event then is the freestyle wrestling. So who does Cosmo want to see hit the canvas?
Well, obviously Drew McIntyre. He's going to be there.
The canvas being an old tartan rug of Mrs. Cosmo's.
And I think he's going to put Costello in with Drew McIntyre because he just likes to punish Costello. It's quite an abusive relationship in a way, and I think that he's gonna want to see Costello getting. Obviously, I presume it's just a rug, so we're not speaking. It's Olympic wrestling, so he's gonna want to see Costello getting put in some heavy submission moves by Drew McIntyre.
Poor Costello. He just wants to help, Okay, then next one then, the beach volleyball. So who's spiking with their shirts off? Well, maybe not with their shirts off, but who's playing beach volleyball?
I don't know if I can answer this, Greg, without getting myself cancelled, because obviously, how many are on each team? The beach volleyball, it's 2.
Teams of 2. Teams of 2.
Teams of 2.
2 and 2.
Okay. So he's going to go mixed again because he's all about equality. So I think I'm going to get myself into trouble here so badly. Obviously Joanna van der Ham. I think he'll pair her up with Compston because they're kind of probably quite similar style. I think they make a good team. Compston and Van der Ham.
She strikes me as being tall, but Compston's just a wee fella, isn't he?
Yeah, but then that's what I mean. You've got the height, and then Compston, it's a wee bit weird. So I think they'll complement each other quite well. And then I think you'll go with Rose Leslie again, and probably pair her with McAvoy as well because he's quite wee as well. So I think Rose Leslie is quite tall too.
I think so. I think she is.
Yeah. Or in fact, you know what? Fuck it. Let's put McAvoy and Compson together and put Van der Ham and Leslie together and they'll crush them.
Yeah, because Leslie's going to bring Kit Harington with her because he's her boyfriend, isn't he? The wee guy from Game of Thrones and the Spooks film. I don't know how he's going to feel watching Costello and Heyman getting a bit hot under the collar if Rose is in her beach volleyball gear, Quite
well, I just have to tell him to calm down. Heyman will be 6 cans of Kestrel deep by this point. He's not rising to any occasion.
He's helping Cosmo with the marshalling because Costello proven time and time again that he's too easily influenced.
That's true. Yeah.
Okay, so then the next event then, we've had the boxing already. Well, we know what's going to happen at the boxing. We know. Everybody knows apart from Compston what's going to happen at the boxing. Touch rugby. So it's touch rugby. Teams of, how many people have we got? So say teams of 4 for the touch rugby. Who's in each team? Hang on a second.
So Cosmo's not taking part in this.
No.
He's only taking part in the boxing because obviously I think he would have put himself. So he's going to pick his A team against his B team, I think. So he's going to pick Butler.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to put him with Van der Ham and Drew McIntyre and James McAvoy.
Right. Well,
and they're going to go up against
McAvoy, scrum half there, maybe.
They're going to work against Laura Fraser, Matt Costello. He's marking Butler. and McIntyre. Joy McAvoy and Heyman.
Oh, Heyman's getting to play, is he?
Yeah, he's getting a wee run out.
He's a wee good scrum half as well, probably, if he's still got the pace. Yeah. He can still find these. Depends how many cans of Kestrel he's had before.
He's on his 7th one now, so
I can see him puking on the touchline.
Yeah, he's absolutely useless. But hey, at least he's taking part. That's the main thing.
Well, that's the thing. It's important to let him take part. And then obviously Cosmo and Mrs. Cosmo, because the tug of war is just a bit of fun, they will make up the teams. So Cosmo's making sure that Drew McIntyre's on his team, and Jerry Butler. Probably going to have a couple of his favourite. It's probably going to be Cosmo, Butler, and McIntyre with Joy McAvoy and Laura Fraser versus everybody else. all Cosmo's favourites.
I think that would work. Yeah, I'd be quite interested to see that. That'd be quite a good event.
Yeah. So I'm not sure. Who do you think's...
Well, Cosmo's team's winning that, obviously. Is Cosmo aware that tug of war isn't actually an Olympic sport, though?
He is, but, he wants an event that's another team event, to make sure that everybody gets a game. Because he's nothing if not inclusive, Cosmo.
And of course, because nowadays we'll have skateboarding in the Olympics, so do you think he's going to build a ramp on his roof for Costello to have a go and show off his skills?
I mean, Costello had suggested breakdancing as an event, and Cosmo warned him if he said that again, only one thing would be getting broken. Wouldn't there be any sick dance moves in Mrs. Cosmo's patio? Fucking no way he's moving that heavy metal garden chair and tables. So that's the Cosmo Olympic party for another 4 years. I feel like everybody there is on their best behaviour at James's house. I mean, obviously the wild card is David Heyman.
Yeah,
right. Compston, if he wasn't behaving himself already, he's going to be spending the party with probably a severe concussion after Cosmo absolutely leathers him in the boxing. So he's not going to cause any trouble either.
So how many rounds do you think it goes with Cosmo and Compston?
I don't know, 1. Because Compston's going into it thinking it's just a bit of fun, and Cosmo's going into it thinking you're fucking getting it, wee man. So
I'm going to give you the fear.
Yeah. So, Compston will literally, he'll be fucking coming round 5 minutes later with the smelling salts under his nose, wondering what the fuck's just happened to him and where he is. on a deck chair in the garden in case he spews.
Poor Mrs. Cosmo attending to him.
I know.
David Heyman wafted a towel.
I know. Using a razor blade to cut his closed eye open.
Do you think with Cosmo? I mean, obviously, Costello would be his corner man.
Yeah. I mean. Costello's only there to hold the bucket, to hold out his hand for Cosmo to spit his mouthguard into and squirt a bit of water in his face, hold the bucket so he can spit into it. I mean, that's literally, he's not there to advise Cosmo or anything like that. No, he's there very much in an auxiliary position.
No, he's definitely no Mickey in terms of giving advice or anything.
Exactly. Yeah, Cosmo doesn't need anybody's advice when it comes to battering wee fannies from Greenock. Yeah.
Why would Cosmo need anyone's advice? He's James Cosmo,
exactly.
Patron saint of the Culture Swally.
Exactly. So I suspect the Cosmo Olympics trophy is probably going back in its usual position on the Cosmos mantelpiece for another 4 years. the end of the Cosmo Olympics. I don't think.
And does anyone sing or anything? Is there a closing ceremony?
No, I don't. I mean, the closing ceremony is just when Cosmo starts switching the garden lights on and off. When he's had enough, everybody wants to go to his bed.
Has to go to his bed with his pink fluffy pillow, which we have seen.
Exactly. Yeah. He gets the garden hose out.
Time to go my way to my bed.
Exactly. Yeah. See you in 4 years.
Wonderful. Well, can't wait for the next Cosmo Olympics in 4 years.
2028. Whereabouts? Do you know who's hosting the 28 Olympics?
I have no idea, but I'll tell you because I've got the Wikipedia page for the Olympics up. 2028 is in Los Angeles.
Oh, of course. I knew that actually. Now you mentioned that. I remember now.
And 2032 is in Australia. There you go. Fun fact.
Yep.
Jesus. 2032.
I'll not be going. It's too far away. Australia's far. It's far away from everywhere, Australia.
Here's how I'll be honest. I have not watched one single second of the Olympics, and I will not watch one single second. I fucking hate the Olympics. It's pish.
Really? I was watching the ladies skateboarding when I was having my Sunday roast on Sunday in the pub that was up on, and I watched a wee bit of the archery. I watched a bit of the rugby sevens on Saturday when I was waiting for my family. We were away for a wee staycay on Saturday, so of course, being the only man in the house, I'm always the first one ready, so I repaired to the pub in the hotel to have a pint when I was waiting for them and watched a bit of the sevens. But yeah, I do like the Olympics. I mean, not every event, but I do quite like it. I like the athletics.
I think the only two things I would watch would be golf and skateboarding.
Yeah.
That'd probably be the only two. I can't be arsed with the rest of it.
I like the boxing as well.
I don't know. There's something about, I think...
Is it because it's too nice? It's too nice, isn't it? You want a bit of like rivalry, not like all the handshaking and the, you're a great opponent.
You know something, it's not that. It's because I kind of feel I'm not invested. It's probably best I don't say anything about that.
You're about to make a case for Scottish independence there, mate.
Yes, I was, yeah, because I can't get behind it. I had a fucking Team GB pish. Fuck off. That's why I probably don't like the Olympics that much. Although I probably watched it when like Liz McColgan and stuff was in it, but that's but yeah, I don't know. I just don't know what it is. Just can't be arsed with it. Haven't watched any of it.
Rampant nationalism, I think, is what it is, mate.
Okay, right, let's move on and talk about a proper Scottish hero. Before we do, let's have a little word from our sponsor. And our sponsor is Doric Skateboards, a skateboard brand created by Gary Kemp, whose main focus is to explore the people and culture of Aberdeen and the northeast of Scotland, creating designs to reflect life in that wonderful area that I hail from. Doric Skateboards screen print their own decks in their new studio by Gary's fair hand, and they have produced some amazing designs over the years, including an Annie Lennox-inspired board, a Robert the Bruce deck, and a Plenty of Pop deck inspired by the old Bonnecord trucks that used to drive around Aberdeen delivering fizzy juice. Doric Skateboards also replicate these amazing designs onto their clothing on 100% organic cotton tees, hoodies, and sweatshirts, and they also produce beanies, caps, mugs, pin badges, and stickers. Gary regularly collaborates with local artists to ensure he brings the latest designs to the market, but always with a Doric twist, including the latest butt redesign based on the famous Aberdeen Breakfast of Champions, and the beautiful Northfield Tower design, a love letter to the Eiffel Tower of Aberdeen. So check Doric Skateboards out for yourself at doricskateboards.com and follow them on Instagram at Doric Skateboards to see the amazing designs on offer. And we are delighted to be able to offer you 15% off as listeners to this podcast. All you need to do is head to doricskateboards.com, have a look at all the amazing decks, stickers, badges, hoodies and tees on offer, and enter the promo code SWALLY. That's SWALLY, same with its name as this podcast, all in block capitals, and get your 15% off. That's doricskateboards.com, link in the description of this episode.
Okay, so it's a summer of sport. We've had the Euros, we've got the Olympics just now, we've just spoken about the Cosmo Olympics, and this week your choice is about another Scottish sporting hero. So why don't you introduce today's film to the listeners?
Thank you very much, Greg. Yes, so on this episode of The Swally, we are looking at the 2006 British drama film The Flying Scotsman, based on the life and career of Scottish amateur cyclist Graeme Obree. Directed by Douglas Mackinnon, the film covers the period of Obree's life that saw him take, lose, and then retake the world 1 hour distance record, starring Johnny Lee Miller as Obree, Laura Fraser, Billy Boyd, and Brian Cox. You had mentioned on the last episode, you mentioned you'd never seen it? Or you'd never seen it?
I'd never. It's one of those ones where, one of those films where you're like, oh, I need to watch that. You know what I mean? And I've probably been saying that since the film came out, and I've never got round to watching it until now. And then, of course, it came out like 18 years ago. So, you say when it comes, I must see that, I must watch that, and then as time goes on and more things that grab your attention come out, you just sort of forget about it. So yeah, I'd never seen it. Had you seen it before?
No, I'd never seen it, and it's exactly the same as you. It's one of those things that had been on my list because I'm like, well, it's called The Flying Scotsman. It's about Johnny Lee Miller's in it. It's about Graeme Obree, who is despite what I've just said about the Olympics and stuff, like, of course I'm aware of Graeme Obree. Any Scottish kind of athlete or thing I'll get behind. Scottish. And even though he's born in England, but he classifies himself as Scottish, so it's fine, so he counts.
Yeah.
And I think that it's one of those films, I say, well, John Lee Miller, Brian Cox, Laura Fraser, who I, absolutely adore Laura Fraser.
Yeah.
She's just such a wonderful actress. And again, it's one of those films that I just never got round to watching. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the main reasons I absolutely love doing this podcast with you, because it gives us an excuse to watch stuff that I never would have watched before and that I've always been kind of meaning to. So, first time watching, Greg, what did you think of The Flying Scotsman? What was your initial impression?
Do you know, I really enjoyed it. Like, I really enjoy. The start of the film is, I don't know if the very, very beginning, when we sort of see him from the waist down walking into the woods, then it becomes apparent that he's about to attempt suicide with his rope. That tone of that opening scene is quite different to the rest of the film, and then it does cast a wee bit of a shadow over maybe the first 2 acts of the film, because that we're going to have to come back to this and see what happens. And I also felt a bit guilty watching it, because it dawned on me that I didn't really know a great deal about Graeme Obree, and his like arguably some of his biggest achievements were all in the early 90s, where this sort of period of time that this film covers. And I feel like, I was living in Scotland. I was 14, 15, 16. I should have been more aware of what was going on there, because this was, like Scotland, we haven't always had like an abundance of sort of sporting champions. The football team, it's brilliant to support them, but they don't exactly bring home the fucking glory. You know what I mean? The rugby team have had highs and lows, and then you got guys like Andy Murray and a few other kind of people like that. But so, we're not sort of up to our chins in sort of sporting heroes, and I feel like I should have been a bit more invested in what Graeme Obree was attempting with the record attempts and the stuff that he was doing in the early 90s, and I didn't know anything about it. I had seen his bike. Well, there's a replica of his bike in the Riverside Museum, which is the new, well, it's not that new now, but the new Transport Museum in Glasgow. So I've seen his bike, Old Faithful, or a replica at least of it. But I feel like I should have known a lot more about him. I mean, do you remember like when all this was happening? Because I mean, you're not that much younger than me.
Well, a good bit younger than you, Greg. No, I'm only a few years younger than you. But no, shamefully, I don't recall this either, and it's weird. I don't understand why. Maybe there wasn't enough press attention about it, or but there must have been. But it's funny because this, a talking point I have later on, which I can just cover now, is about how wonderful Scotland is at getting behind athletes, and someone that is doing something. And it strikes me as bizarre that I don't remember Graeme Obree like at that time. If I think about, you look at Chris Hoy, for example, or Liz McColgan, Jesus Christ, she was I remember watching the Olympics and cheering on Liz McColgan because she's Scottish. I think of Paul Lawrie winning the Open in 99. There's so many. Just need to look at Andy Murray in the last couple of last 10, 15 years. Scotland, we get behind our athletes and we get really behind something. And I will admit, I'm probably guilty of, I'm not really a big tennis fan, but I would watch it when Andy Murray was playing. Because...
Yeah, you were invested.
We do get behind our athletes, and I don't remember any of this. And okay, I would have been early teens, so probably, I was into my football and stuff, but again, I would have been watching like sport if Scotland was involved. So it kind of almost pains me that I don't really remember this at the time.
And the other thing, which I didn't know until I watched this film, is that it's not just that he's been a sporting hero. He's a real pioneer for the sport as well. You know, we in the early scenes of the film where we see him making his bike and he's got like a new riding position with his elbows tucked in. And like if you watch modern velodrome now, that's how they all ride their bikes now. You know, they all ride with the elbows tucked in, like in that kind of skiing position that he pioneered. So he's not just a fucking Scottish sporting hero. He's also an incredible pioneer and advocate for the sport of cycling and velodrome racing, you know?
So I would say I really enjoyed this film as well. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very entertaining. I think it helps that obviously pretty much all the main cast are brilliant. You know? John Lee Miller's just fantastic. Laura Fraser, Billy Boyd's great in this as well, and of course, you know, Brian Cox. But I think you really touched upon something there when you're like, it opens up with your hero trying to hang himself. And it's a fucking dark opening. And it doesn't hold up. It doesn't let up, because then you're straight into the scene of him getting fucking pissed on by school bullies.
Yeah.
And you realise that as the film progresses, like he's held that in because he never told his mum and dad who it was. And he's held that in for his entire life, which I think has led to his mental health issues later on in life, and his depression and things. And that's one thing I would say, kids, don't hold stuff in. Fucking let it out. Please tell someone if you're suffering from anything like that. Please.
Well, I like the way that the film, because like mental health, and particularly men's mental health, is quite a big sort of issue at the moment. You know, like sort of suicide rates in the UK among young men are higher than they've ever been. You know, and to your point, the depiction of his sort of psychological suffering. I mean, I don't know anybody who suffers from bipolar. It's not something that I suffer from personally, so I don't have any kind of point of reference, but it felt very authentic. You know, the sort of the kind of pacing, the restlessness, and then the sort of quiet black moods where he doesn't appear to be hearing anything. You know what? Annie, Laura Fraser, who plays his wife, Annie's talking to him, and just nothing. It's like she's just talking to herself, you know. It feels, and like it's not sort of, they don't kind of hit you over the head with it either, apart from with that sort of scene at the beginning. But just those kind of quieter moments that feel quite authentic.
It's very authentic in terms of he brushes it off. In terms of, you know, he says to Malky at one point, I just get a bit down sometimes, and it's almost that's his way of dealing with things. And again, you're right. Like, even back when this film came out in 2006, like, speaking about men's mental health wasn't that big a thing. It's kind of still unspoken about, whereas now it's much more prevalent, and thank God it is. And I think that it's quite brave for them to do that. My one criticism is I would have kind of liked them to go into that a bit more. Okay. Because it is still, it's touched upon, but I don't think it's fully explored in terms of, you realise that he's down. I mean, they don't go into the fact that he's bipolar. No. Like, really. It's just that he's a bit down sometimes and a bit depressed. And okay, you can link it back to the bullying from school, and then of course his achievements getting taken away and stuff. And he is obviously, you know, the fact he goes out for a cycle when, like, Chris Boardman is trying to break the record. Yeah. That's understandable. Because I'd probably be the same. I'd probably be like, I don't want to watch this. I'm going to go away and do something. You know? Like, I often, like, even if I'm watching like a big Aberdeen game, for example, I know it's nothing in comparison, but let's say I'm watching like a semi-final against Celtic or something. I can't sit down and watch it. I'll be pacing around the room. I'll be watching it. But I'll be pacing around, kind of like,
try to distract
kicking
yourself
every ball, kind of, in a way, because I'm like, fuck, can I take this? And so I can completely understand taking himself out of that. But I felt almost they didn't kind of go into it enough, and I kind of wanted to see more of that side. Like, it's like, well, right, okay, so he's a bit down, and then he goes to hang himself, and then, you know, that's it. I mean, in reality, Graeme, I think it's like 3 times he's tried to kill himself.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Over the course of his life. And okay, this film only covers a certain period of his life, but I kind of wish they'd maybe spoken about that a bit more, or went into things a little bit more about the heaviness of that. But again, you're trying to make kind of a light-hearted film about, and actually you're right, this film, it's more about his sporting achievements, but it is also about him. And I just wish they'd kind of maybe had a little bit more about his mental health battles.
Real? Sorry, didn't mean to make you jump, but the reception stuck. And don't we look like a couple of swells?
Listen, Malky, I know Anne's told you about me.
Good. We should get downstairs, eh?
I just get really down sometimes, and then I tell myself, get a grip, man, and I pull myself out of it. I mean, there's nothing really wrong with me, you know.
I know what you mean. I mean, it feels like it was important to Douglas Mackinnon, who directed the film, that it kind of ends very positively, you know, so kind of leaping ahead, you know, he finally accepts that he has a mental illness and goes to seek help and stuff. And, you know, you get that little closer about how he no longer cycles competitively, he just cycles for fun. And it's like he wants to, you know, he sort of triumphs over the cycling association and stuff at the end and everything else. Stephen Berkoff has to grudgingly hand over his trophy or whatever it was that he won at the end. So it feels like they just want to, he sort of needs, it's like Mackinnon kind of needs a bit of a happy ending, because the film starts in that really dark kind of way with an attempted suicide, you know. Seemed like it was important, and I guess as well, you know, for the audience. I mean, if you've been watching it, I mean, I didn't look into Graeme Obree until I'd watched the film. I didn't look into it beforehand because I wanted to kind of watch the film for the film's sake, and I thought if I read about Graeme Obree first of all, then it's going to spoil some of the things that happen in the film. So I'll read about it after. Yeah. And you mentioned there that he's attempted suicide on 3 occasions, not just the one occasion that's shown in the film. I think he's come out as either homosexual or bisexual now, so he's separated from Anne. He was supposed to join a French kind of Tour de France team, and that all sort of fell down around his ears as well and stuff like that. So, you know, like, there was a lot to talk about, but it felt like it was important to Mackinnon. He's probably thinking that this is an audience's experience here. You know, am I really going to put all that in the kind of postscript at the end? Better just to say he no longer cycles competitively in 2006, just cycles for fun, you know? Yeah. And just sort of leave the audience going away feeling like they've watched a film about a man overcome his ambitions and also his challenges, you know, his limitations.
I mean, I think it's he didn't come out as gay until 2011, so obviously long after the film had come out. But he did say in an interview, which is just so heartbreaking, he had difficulty coming to terms with his sexual orientation, which obviously contributed to his earlier suicide attempts, which you can see why that would. And he said, I was brought up by a war generation. They grew up when gay people were put in jail. Yeah. Being homosexual was so unthinkable that you just wouldn't be gay. I had no inkling about anything. I just closed it down. And that's fucking heartbreaking to read. That, you know, and obviously with it being bullied when he was younger and obviously battling those feelings and trying to deal with convention, fucking hell, no wonder he was mentally ill in the way he was. And my God, my heart goes out to him. But fucking hell, for what he achieved is astounding going through that. So, and again, okay, they couldn't go into that in the film, you know, be a bit much, I guess. But, you know, I thought it was quite well handled in a way. And I did like, because it was quite subtle in a way, like the Douglas, Brian Cox's character. You can tell he kind of sees something in Graeme. And it's not until later on in the film that you kind of truly realise what it is. Because you're like, what is this guy's game? Like, you know, because he's helping him out and stuff, gives him his bar and he's chatting to him. And that's another thing, you know, there's not enough Cox in this. He kind of just comes in and vanishes for periods and then comes back. It's just almost when he's needed. Like, I wouldn't mind a bit more Cox, but and you can clip that if you want. But in terms of the, you can see he sees something in Graeme, and it's not until later you realise that, as he says, like, it's the same darkness that took his wife from him. And that's a beautiful speech when Brian Cox is explaining his beautiful wife, who unfortunately committed suicide. And he says she had the same darkness as you. She walked into the water, and he's like, she could swim like a salmon. Yeah. And it's heartbreaking in that moment, but maybe that helps Graeme realise as well at that time what he's going through, and that other people are going through the same thing in a way.
Yeah, I mean, Cox, first of all, it's great hearing Cox act in his own accent now, because obviously more recently he's been very famous for playing Logan Roy and doing an American accent and stuff. And the thing that I like about the fact that Cox is in this film is, if you look at his career in the early 2000s, and the late 80s and stuff, he's doing, the late 90s rather, he's doing like Rob Roy, big Hollywood film. He's doing Braveheart, big Hollywood film. X-Men 2, like he plays like the big bad in X-Men 2. So he's doing these huge like Hollywood movies. But he comes back to Scotland in 2006, just a couple of years later, and does fairly low budget, local set in Scotland film. Gets to do his own accent, gets to spend some time in Ayr and on the west coast of Scotland, but just brings a real gravitas to it as well. Like that the moment that you just described, when he is sort of opening his heart to Graeme about his ex-wife and everything else. Like a lot of time is supposed to have passed from that happening to where we are now, and he conveys the air of a man who is still devastated by what happened, but has also made his peace with it, has kind of understood it, has learned how to cope with it. And you know what I mean? And it's not like a big emotional, kind of misty-eyed staring off into the distance. Again, it's a very realistic portrayal of a man talking about being widowed 30 odd years ago, or however long it's supposed to have been since she passed away. And I would agree with you. It would have been, because with Cox, he's in the kind of first act quite a lot, in the second act he sort of disappears a wee bit. We only see a little bit of him, and then he's back in the third act for that, perhaps the fucking scene of the film, really, that scene. Because obviously it gets Graeme to face up to the fact that he can't just keep ignoring his mental health struggles anymore if he wants to kind of move on and have a future and everything else, and helps him understand that he's not the only person that suffers from what he's suffering from, and I can't imagine anybody else of Cox's sort of peer group kind of coming in and doing that scene the justice that he did it. Just extraordinary, really.
She killed herself, Graeme. She had the same illness as you. She couldn't take it anymore. Said it was like being in a swamp, alone in the darkness, slowly being sucked down inch by inch, the life squeezed out of her, and knowing that nobody was ever going to come and save her, because nobody knew she was even there. You see, there were things in her life, in her childhood, she would not talk about. I thought maybe if we had a bit more time together, I could have done something. We can talk about it.
What's the point in talking about it?
Have you ever talked about it before? So, why do you think there's no point?
I think you're right. And that's why I do love Cox. I love Brian Cox, because he does that a lot. If you look through his career, and we've spoken about him so many times, but he'll go off and do like a few Hollywood films, but he'll always come back and do something in Scotland. Yeah. If you look at his IMDb, it's literally peppered with like 3 or 4 Hollywood films. He's in like Rise of Planet of the Apes. And then he's in like The Campaign, which is, was a big Will Ferrell, Zach Galifianakis film. And then he's in Red, which is, I remember that being like a big film. And then he comes back to Scotland and does Bob Servant. Yeah. And then off he goes back to Hollywood. He's in like Her, he's in a few other Hollywood films. And then he comes back and does 3 episodes of Shetland. It's Brian Cox. It's just...
He's in like 2 Bourne films, is he not, as well, I think?
He is, he is.
He's brilliant. After he did this, he went and did Zodiac, the David Fincher film. He's just a year later, he's off back to Hollywood. And then fucking Scooby-Doo and the Samurai Sword 2 years later. I know, I really like the fact, because it's something I'd like to see Jerry Butler do a bit more of, because I thought he was brilliant in The Vanishing.
Yeah.
And, he's obviously off, and, unfortunately, he doesn't make brilliant films, Jerry Butler, but he obviously makes films that people want to see, that they make money, because he's always in something. But it'd be great to see him come back and do a bit of a more thoughtful sort of role set in Scotland, where he...
Yeah, that's the thing. He's back in Scotland all the time, getting his hair cut and stuff. So,
seeing his man.
Like, why and seeing his man? Like, why? I'd agree. Maybe it's something to do with like visa or tax issues, because I presume he lives in the States. So there might be something about that. But I don't see why he couldn't do something like that. Maybe he will, like later on, once he's not able to do
older
action roles. Yeah. So, talk about the film, I guess, a little bit more. I like it because it's quite a familiar kind of trope in a way. It's an underdog.
Yeah.
Who achieves something. You have Laura Fraser as kind of the long-suffering wife, in a way. You've got Brian Cox as kind of the guy who's encouraging him. You've got Billy Boyd as like the comedy sidekick. Like, it has all those kind of tropes that in there, but then has this undercurrent of depression and a mental health battle.
Yeah. You've just described Scotland, mate, perfectly there.
Yeah, kind of, actually. So, I mean, let's speak about Johnny Lee Miller as Graeme Obree. We've long said probably one of the best Scottish accents from a non-Scotsman. Yeah. And there's the famous story, of course, that in Trainspotting, it wasn't until the rap party that Kelly MacDonald realised that he wasn't actually Scottish. And it's so bizarre. I can't watch like an interview or something with Johnny Lee Miller and hear him talking in his normal accent. It just seems odd. Yeah. It's like watching David Tennant as Doctor Who. It's like that's not right. What's that coming out of your voice? As you say, like I mean, actually, you mentioned in terms of Brian Cox in his normal accent, like in Succession, he spoke. It wasn't his proper twang, but it was still Scottish, but it was a bit lighter for American audiences. Yeah. But for some reason, Johnny Lee Miller, Scottish accent just suits him so much. That's what I'm used to hearing. And I guess it's because obviously Trainspotting was probably my first exposure to him, and I've watched that film so many times. But to hear him as Graeme Obree, he's, it's flawless, the accent.
I mean, and this one as well, it's not just his accent, it's his whole portrayal of the character. When I was doing my research, it said that he hung out with Obree for quite a while to sort of learn how to cycle and his style. Apparently, he did quite a lot of the cycling himself. They got Obree in for like the really fast bits that were shot from a distance, but apparently Johnny Lee Miller became quite an accomplished cyclist at the same time. But yeah, I mean, he's astonishingly good in this. Because it's quite a quiet part as well. He's not. It calls for obviously a lot of physical acting when he's on his bike, but just like in the scenes where he's on his own in his workshop, sort of or taking the washing machine apart to get the bearings out for his bike, or the scenes like we spoke about earlier on when he's struggling with his mental health and things. It's a really quiet kind of role. And from what I watched a documentary about Graeme Obree that was on YouTube, and it's like eerily similar. He's obviously he's not. It kind of feels like he's not playing a sort of interpretation of Graeme Obree. It feels like he's really striving to sort of be Graeme Obree. And I wonder if that's maybe part of his process, because obviously you just mentioned in Trainspotting, he kept the accent throughout the shoot, I'm sure he didn't do all the other nasty stuff that Sick Boy does on screen to stay in character, but he keeps he kept the accent, and I wouldn't be surprised if he kept the Scottish accent throughout the shoot for this too, because I've heard it said by a lot of English and American actors who of being called on to do a Scottish accent that it's really difficult. And we've heard some like pretty shocking Scottish. I mean, even Liam Neeson in The Big Man and Rob Roy. Bear in mind, he's Irish. You would think if anybody could do a reasonable Scottish accent, it would be someone from Ireland, since we're very similar people. And his Scottish accent's not very good. Or Joanne Wally Kilmer's accent as well and stuff.
I think it helps massively, probably on the people that surround him. Because if you think about Train Spotting, he's hanging out every day. Pretty much all of his scenes are with Ewan Bremner, Ewan McGregor, Robert Carlyle, and Peter Mullen.
Yeah.
All these Scottish accents. And the same as this. It's Billy Boyd, Laura Fraser, and Brian Cox.
Yeah.
So it's quite easy to be able to... I'm not saying it's quite easy. Sorry, that's the wrong phrase to use. But you know what I mean? It's probably easier for him to be able to keep up the accent because of who he's talking to every day.
Yeah, if you're that type of actor or that type of character who can just absorb, like...
Yeah.
If you spend some time with somebody who's visiting you and they're from a different country, I've known a couple of people that they sort of start to get a little bit of an inflection in their accent. Like if there was any like English guys or girls maybe that you knew at university all the way through uni, probably by third or fourth year, little bit of inflection coming in, little bit of Aberdonian accent coming in,
But I would agree. I think his performance in this is outstanding in terms of the darkness and depression scenes. He pulls that off so well. You can see the light-hearted nature, some of the times when he's talking to Anne, you can tell he's having fun when he is in parts, speaking to, very honest in nature. It reminded me when Douglas, Brian Cox's character, arrives and needs a new crank for his bike.
Yeah.
And he's looking over at Smart Cycles and then he's looking at Obree's bikes. Kind of reminded me of Bob Servant choosing between very good video or Blockbuster in a way. And but he goes in and he's so honest of like, oh, you're probably better going off, to the big boys across the road and stuff. And the honesty, compassion, and you can tell the excitement of he loves cycling. And when he's eating his marmalade sandwiches with Malky. Yeah. And he's like, oh, have these in the morning and then it gets me up for my cycle. And he's like, that's 32 kilometers. He's like, yeah, it's fine. And I think and then you get the darkness again, like when he's in the pub and he meets his old school bullies and he's shoving the bike at them and telling them to fuck off. And the anger when he's like, take a fucking look at me because this is the closest you'll get to achieving anything in your life. Just a wonderful performance from John Lee Miller. You're right. It really did absorb the role. And some of those scenes when he's racing and the camera is just on his face and you got the sweat pouring off it. And he looks fucked. And you're right. If he did a fair bit of the cycling in the film, then no wonder. But you are totally believing him in that moment. And the scene I absolutely love is the scene where the WCF are just fucking trying everything against him and just making every turn, and he unveils the tricycle. And then he goes to the next meeting and they're like, oh, the saddle needs to be 5 inches apart, and he just grabs the hacksaw and fucking saws off. And I'd probably do the same thing in that moment. I'd be like, right, fuck you, I've had enough of this. Right, there you go. Yeah. Everything they do to try and go against him, and then he gets a saddle from a 12-year-old's mountain bike. And I totally understand and believe where he's coming from, and would probably do the same. But it's just such a, it covers a lot of emotions. The excitement when he realizes the washing machine bearings thing. Yeah. And he's like, oh, yeah, beauty. And it's a wonderful performance.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, and he's fucking, to use like a modern parlance, he is fucking hench in this, I mean, like the muscle in his calves and stuff. But, when you see him in the scene when he fails in the first record attempt, but they've got the velodrome till the next day, and he decides to go again in the morning, and he just keeps drinking pints of water, so he's got to keep getting up to go for a piss to keep his muscles loose and things, so he doesn't seize up. You can see that he's got himself into serious shape to play the role. Another actor I want to touch on briefly, he's not a Scottish actor, but Stephen Berkoff, who plays the WCF sort of chairman, kind of baddie of the group, always plays a bit of a baddie, Stephen Berkoff, in everything. But interestingly, when he was a young actor, in the 60s or the 1970s, he was in a theatre production in Glasgow for a few months. And he's a keen amateur photographer, and he's published, you can see some of them online, all the photographs that he took of Glasgow at the time, in the sort of 1970s when he was there. I don't know what the play was, but obviously it was like production that was on for a few months or whatever. And so he's got a lot of photographs of Glasgow city centre from his time there. Now, some of them have been published in the Evening Times and the Daily Record, and things, but he speaks very fondly of his time in Glasgow, but I don't know why he always plays a fucking villain in everything that he's in.
Probably because he's just so good at it. That's the thing.
Probably.
He's so good. Like, you are shouting at the screen, you fucking arsehole. As, and they make no bones about it. They are very much, when they're sitting in the room, it is a case of like, right, how do we stop him?
Yeah.
Like, we need to make up these rules. And I can see the embarrassment for them because, and Graeme Obree himself has said this, like, he wishes he'd never told anyone that all it is the bearings are from a washing machine on his bike. But that's all everyone focused on. And if you read anything about the film, you read anything about Obree, it's about, he made a bike built from a washing machine. And it's not. He used the bearings for a tiny little part. Yeah. But for some reason, that's just all everyone focused on. And that's all effectively the World Cycling Federation focused on as well. And as they said, like, we can't have someone that's built a bike from a washing machine when he's making a mockery of us. Whereas the bike that he actually broke the record on wasn't, I mean, it did use the bearings, but it was his frame, but it was the specialized tires and wheels that kind of helped that in terms of the second attempt. But everyone focused on was this fucking washing machine part.
Well, the thing is, like, every sport that requires equipment to play, like, the equipment is always going to evolve over time. I mean, even when I was like young, tennis rackets were still wooden with like quite small sort of heads. And then as time went on, they became graphite and the heads got bigger, so there's more coverage and stuff like that. And a good example, like, I was watching the archery, the Olympic archery the other day, and the bows that they use, they've got big fucking massive frames on the front for balance. They've got like lines of sight, like sort of rods that you can sort of line up with the target and things like that. I'm sure that there's still a high degree of technique and ability required regardless how good the bows are, but all these things would give a modern sort of archer a huge advantage over somebody using like a basic bow from like 20 or 30 years ago. So it's always going to be the case. And sometimes these improvements are made for the safety of the athletes as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he's adapted his bike to the skier's stance that he felt was more aerodynamic and would help him move faster, because there'd be less drag on his body. His body would create less drag if he was in that position,
And that's exactly one of the things that the commission kind of tried to put a point on, that it is for his safety because he fell off once.
Yeah.
And, how many times do fucking cyclists fall off when it's an occupational hazard? But they've used that as the one time to try and put a dampener on him and using their way to fuck him over.
How many times did you fall off your bike when you were a wee guy?
Oh, countless times probably. Well, I don't know. Not many, but yeah, I can think of a few probably. Yeah. Like, just happens. I mean, going fast let's be honest, you're jumping down stairs and stuff and going down big steep slopes and, you're indestructible when you're that age. We're trying that now.
No, definitely not. Yeah.
One other thing that struck me was the velodrome scenes are amazing. Like, they're really well shot. And, you're watching a guy just go round and round in circles. And you have to think that Obree, his sport was basically, it was empty indoor tracks, like when he broke the record and stuff. And watching a man ride around an oval is exciting. But I think Douglas Mackinnon did a really good job of shooting those scenes. However, as much as exhausting it was for Obree, I also felt for Anne, Laura Fraser's character, because that's got to be fucking exhausting, standing there for an hour, just shouting, "Come on, Graeme.
Yeah.
You can do it, Graeme. Come on, Graeme." Trying to be encouraging, like, every time he goes past, but you must be like, oh, for fuck's sake. Like, this is exhausting for her as well.
I could do with her shouting encouragement when I'm training for a 10k. I'm on to 6k's, and the last sort of the last half kilometre I could do with a bit of lovely Laura Fraser just shouting a bit of encouragement for the last few minutes to help me get to the number 6. I like her in this because it's, you know, like she often plays quite serious characters, I would say. You know what I mean? Like sometimes with a degree of intensity. And in this one, I don't think I've seen her smile, like really smile as much in a film as she does in this. You know, like the scenes with her and Johnny Lee Miller, like the more light scenes with her and Johnny Lee Miller are really nice, you know what I mean? And she, you know, I know she's not in the film as much as we would have liked to have had her in the film, but where the scenes that she is in, especially those early scenes, you know, it's nice to see her playing quite a light, sort of upbeat, happy character. And even the scenes where she has to get a bit dramatic when Graeme's in these sort of darker moments and things, and, you know, after when he tries to kill himself and ends up in the hospital. You know, she's got a light touch, I think, you know.
She's having fun. Like the scene that I love is when she comes home and he's on the kitchen floor, like doing cycling motions, and she comes in and says, "No, Graeme, your bum does not look big in those shorts."
Yeah.
They have a laugh, and he's talking about the banana and the cycling width and positions and stuff. And she's like, "Did you get me on the kitchen floor to talk about this?" And it's such a lovely little scene. And again, there's nothing dirty. I mean, it cuts off before anything happens, but you're right. She's just having fun, and seeing her like cheering on her husband, and she's such a great character. In fact, one of the first scenes, you know, that we kind of really see her in, it's when she's with her friend and they come out, and Malky's just kind of come back from the cycle that we're having, and she's like, "We're off to get fish and chip," and he's like, "Yeah, fish and chips and a pickled onion," and you're kind of like, it's just a lovely kind of light-hearted scene. And you're right, she does smile a lot in this film, and she's a wonderful actress. I love Laura Fraser. I think she's just wonderful.
I tell you, one aspect of the film that caused me to suspend my belief a wee bit. There's fucking no way that Billy Boyd is winching Morven Christie.
Yeah, no chance at all.
No chance.
I'd agree with you on that. Yeah, Morven Christie is, she's beautiful, and Billy Boyd's handsome. Maybe he's was flashing his Hobbit money or something.
He's about 4'3".
Yeah, that's why he was so convincing as a Hobbit. Although I don't know, I've never seen the
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings. I've seen the first 45 minutes of the first one twice. Fell asleep at the same time, both times. Did Graeme win that race with Ron Donaghy? Because Ron Donaghy fucking sideswipes him with the van.
Yeah.
Like, I think he won that.
I think he won it as well. I think there was a little bit of foul play by Donaghy there. Donaghy's character, not by Donaghy himself. I'm sure Donaghy's a good guy. Maybe play by the rules, but by the character, certainly.
But then I think a wonderful part that sums up what I was explaining earlier about how we just always get behind Scottish sportsmen is that Ron Donaghy comes across as like an evil bastard in that first kind of part, but then later on you see him in the pub and he's cheering him on.
Yeah.
You know, "Go on, son." And that's exactly what you do. "Go on, son. I can do it." That's just sums up for me the wonderful way we get behind our athletes.
Another scene which maybe seemed a wee bit out of place, but I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was really well done, was when Malky, played by Billy Boyd, he's trying to raise money for Graeme's attempt. And the sort of operating director or whoever managing director starts to take his clothes off in the office, but then puts on some cycling gear and stuff. I thought it was really clever. I thought Billy Boyd, I'll be honest, I'm not always a Billy Boyd fan, to be honest with you. I think he overacts a bit sometimes, but I thought he was very good in that scene. And the guy who plays the manager was particularly good, and it was a nice little callback later on when he stops at the pub when Graeme's in the race, and he stops at the pub for a drink and they're all watching it on the telly, and he's there cheering them on as well. I thought it was a nice little callback to that really funny scene.
Well, of course, played by Maury Hunter, who was, of course, part of Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, that's what he was. Yeah, that's right.
Wonderful. Yeah, and had a sketch show as well, I think, with Jack Docherty.
Right.
They had a sitcom, Mr. Don and Mr. George.
Oh, of course. I thought about that for years.
Yeah, I wonder if that's available anywhere. Fuck me, I'd love to watch that again. Yeah, I'm gonna have to have a look for that. But yeah, that is a great scene. Yeah, you're right in terms of the kind of surrealism of him just getting undressed, and you're thinking, what the hell's going on here? But yeah, he's just off to cycle, and because he loves. Yeah, of course, he's the rapid employment.
That's it. Yeah, managing director. Yeah. Rapid employment.
Yeah. It's a good fit for him. Yeah. Did you not to get? I've probably said far too much on this episode already. I really apologise to our English listeners. I'm not anti-English at all, but you're kind of like fucking bastard Boardman when he beats his records. Like, you know what's going to happen, but you're kind of like, you prick.
Yeah, it's that. It's just, I suppose, it's that competitiveness that these guys, you know, I think it's hard for us to. It's not hard for people like us who aren't guys that are just out to break world records and challenge themselves and live a lifestyle that involves sacrifice and putting a toll on your body and all that kind of thing. But I can imagine that, you know, as soon as Obree beat his record, Boardman was like, fucking right, I can beat this guy. And it's just sort of back and forth. I liked it when the Italian guy congratulated Graeme, like the former, I can't forget the athlete's name now, but when he sort of goes from looking a bit concerned that Graeme's going to beat his record to sort of just getting on sort of Team Obree and cheering him on, doesn't he? It's just a nice moment. It's just a really good film, this. You know what I mean? It's like, I know it deals with a lot of serious issues and stuff, but it's just this really satisfying film, I think, as a film, you know, as a movie.
I feel I should go back to my point when I've just kind of said about, you prick Boardman, but then when Obree then beats him in the 4K race, and then Boardman comes over and congratulates him and then says, look, use my helmet for the final because it's better than yours. That's kind of a nice moment. You're like, you're a good guy, Boardman, actually. You know, you're kind of, you're a nice guy. Helping him out. So I just kind of feel I need to clarify that point. Because it's the official sort of the bad guys in this. We're coming out with the red flags and stuff.
The bureaucrats.
But you're right. It's a good film. Like it has its dark moments, but it does have that kind of feel good aspect of it, that you are kind of wanting to cheer everyone on, and you really are right behind Graeme Obree, and you're really hoping. And it shows that, like I say, I kind of would have liked a little bit more, of course, of the mental health aspect, but I'd have liked to have a little bit more on the idea and the construction of Old Faithful as well.
Yeah.
And it's a great scene, but you feel so sorry for Graeme when he unveils it to Malky and his wife and Douglas, and it looks like shit. And you can tell that they're so underwhelmed when he unveils it. And I kind of felt sorry for Graeme. And when he gets on it and it's creaking and stuff, and it's the first kind of prototype, but I kind of felt sorry for him. And I thought they did a great job as well of when they're doing the record attempts and when he's starting off, you know, he starts off so slowly and builds up. And I thought it was great they captured that aspect, because like if this was a Hollywood film, he'd be like shooting out from the gates on the bike. But it was so realistic that he's starting off and cranking slowly and getting there.
Yeah, for sure. I know. And it doesn't look like the most sort of solid contraption either. It's very slight, you know what I mean? It looks like sort of like a high wind might kind of blow him off the back of it.
Will you just get off my case and do your job?
For God's sake, Graeme. The bike that Boardman's going on cost $500,000 to develop and was designed by a computer. So how the hell is that thing that's made out of scrap and washing machine parts going to break a record that stood since before they were born?
What's that for, big man? The circus?
Aye, that's right, son.
Let's get one thing straight, Malky. I know what I'm doing here. Maybe it doesn't look like it, but this bike's been built according to the laws of physics. There's a scientific reason for every single bit of design, and that's how I'm going to break the record, with or without you.
Graeme, he's trying to help you, that's all.
Well, I don't need his help. I do this on my own.
another aspect that didn't go into too much, but obviously we see him being bullied as a child in younger years, and then he goes into the pub to use the phone and runs into his old school bullies, who obviously recognise him. And I think it's quite great when he's like, I'm trying to make a phone call, can you just fuck off? And fair play to him, he stands up to them when they confront him later. But then kind of the main bully comes to his house later to tell him.
Does he, or is it? I wasn't sure if that was a hallucination or if that actually supposed to have happened.
Oh, I thought it was real. I thought that happened, but
okay, maybe it did.
Okay.
Maybe it did.
When he tells him that Graeme's old man locked up his old man and he died in prison. Yeah, I thought that actually was happening. I didn't think that was a hallucination, but maybe I might have misinterpreted that, possibly.
Yeah, I'm fine with the ambiguity, I think. Okay. Is it time to put the Flying Scotsman through our Swally Awards? Do you have any more points?
No, I think, let's put it through the awards. I'm looking forward to this one.
Okay. So the first award, as always, the Bobby the Barman Award for the best pub in the Flying Scotsman. So which one did you go for here?
I went with the pub that his old school bullies are in. Because it looked like a decent boozer, but it was full of arseholes.
Yeah. I've written here, like, I suppose the nice answer would be the pub that Ron Donachie is watching the 4K sprint in. But in reality, I'm probably going to enjoy the pub that Graeme stops to make the phone call in with his old school police a bit more.
It looks better. We'll just sit in the corner, it'll be fine.
Good pint of tenants in there. Next award then, had a lot of coverage on this episode, the James Cosmo Award for being in everything Scottish. One obvious choice here, really, isn't there?
Ron Donachie?
Has to be Ron Donachie.
Of course.
Has to be. Not a violent film, this, really. Some sort of threat of violence, but the Jake McQuillan Your Tees Out Award, I went with Graeme falling off his bike, because it looked quite sore. You know, when he sort of fails the first record attempt and he kind of keeps going and falls off. What did you go for?
I went with Donaghy sideswiping him with the van.
Yeah, that's probably a bit more like it. I sort of felt it when he fell off his bike. It just looked a bit sore.
I mean, not so much a tease out, but a kind of psychological funny tease out. My second choice was him unveiling the tricycle to the... Yeah. It's almost like a two fingers tease out, kind of thing.
That would maybe become the Jack and Victor Get It Up You Award.
Yeah.
Get it right up
you.
Unveil
that one occasionally,
yeah. So as far as nudity goes, there's nothing gratuitous. The closest thing is the rapid employment managing director stripping down to his briefs and putting his cycling gear on, but no sexy moments.
No.
Swearing, I didn't catch any F-bombs. There's a few buggers and bloodies. There was maybe a wee F-bomb in the pub when he tells them to fuck off when he's on the phone and they're calling over to him. Does he? I can't really remember.
He tells them to fuck off. I think he says, I'm trying to make a fucking call here.
That's right, yeah.
But I went with probably about a minute later when the bullies are confronting him. We just want to talk, Graeme.
Yeah.
And he's waving the bike at them and he does say, take a good fucking look at me because this is the closest you'll get to anything worthwhile.
That's right, yeah. I think we'll give it to that one. Next then, so I've got a few for this. Archetypal Scottish moment.
I have two for this, so if you've got a few, let's go.
Right,
you first. Give me your first one.
Well, the first one, archetypal Scottish moment, sort of just burying your mental health problems as deeply as they'll go until you reach cancer or crisis. It feels like a very Scottish thing to do.
Yep. I'd say that's fair enough, yeah. I can agree with that, yeah.
Well, what was your first one?
Do you want to know what mad is? Try calling me English again.
Yeah, I've written that one as well. I've got I've got being best pals with the French, whatever reasons. Well, not for whatever reasons. Scotland's always the old alliance with France, usually in all matters pertaining to England.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I've got something I've mentioned a couple of times before, but Scottish people just getting behind a Scottish athlete, like Ron Donaghy in the pub cheering on Graeme.
Yeah, and that should really be the one that we finish on, because the only other one I've got is just the no fucks given for the bad weather. Just rain, hail or shine. were out.
Yeah, true. Actually, that's very true. Nobody seems to, be bothered about all the rain. Yeah.
And then the last one then, the Big Tam Award, my bathroom companion, bizarrely, last night in the cinema when I went to see Deadpool. Who wins the film for you?
I mean, it's obvious for both of us. It's Johnny Lee Miller, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Johnny Lee Miller.
He's fucking brilliant in this. And so nice to see him in a role doing a Scottish accent that isn't Sick Boy, but you're right. He really embodies, and it's just tiny little nuances that he does, and he handles the role so well, and does, I think, Graeme Obree proud in this role. So
it's good.
Johnny Lee Miller, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, because he's not always a sympathetic character in this. You know what I mean?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Kind of mostly he is, but not always. You know, especially in his relationships with the people around him when he's particularly focused. And I think Johnny Lee Miller does a great job at kind of keeping you on his side even during those moments. I've given a wee special nod to Brian Cox, even though he's not in it very much, but I think he deserves a wee honourable mention.
No, as you say, he's not a sympathetic character at all times. Can you imagine? Effectively, his shop has gone out of business. He has dedicated himself to therefore trying to break the 1 hour record.
Yeah.
His wife is working full time as a nurse. They've got a kid, so they've only got one wage coming in.
Yeah.
And she comes home to find that he has dismantled the washing machine.
Yeah.
Could you imagine what would happen in that situation?
I know what would happen.
Normally.
I know what would happen in my house.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be sitting here recording a podcast with you.
So can you just imagine what would happen? Anyway.
Indeed.
But it does it very well.
Well, if you are listening at home and you're somebody you're a man who is perhaps suffering with mental health and you're in Scotland, you could do a lot worse than going on to www.menmattersscotland.org, who are there to support all men's mental health issues, improve quality of life, enrich connections, etc. Very, very good service. And if you're not in Scotland, I'm sure if you Google, you'll find a lot of help and support wherever you are in the world.
Thanks for that, Greg. And yes, I would agree. It does take a lot of courage to make that first step, but once you do, it's very worthwhile. Right, well, that was the Flying Scotsman, Greg, and I believe it is available on YouTube, actually. To watch the whole film.
It's available on YouTube, indeed.
Yeah, so if you want to watch it, then you can find it there. Probably should have said that at the start of the episode before we spoiled the absolute shite out of it. So that was my choice, Greg. So the handlebars swing round to you. What are we going to be talking about on the next episode of the Culture Swally?
Well, I've decided to go for something a bit more modern, a bit of a change of pace, and I've gone with the 2021 mystery thriller written and directed by Christian Carillon. It's a remake of his 2017 French film starring James McAvoy and the lovely, lovely Claire Foy, My Son, which is available, I believe, on Netflix if you want to watch it before you hear us trying to make light of what sounds like a really dark story. That's because we watched that for the next episode of the Culture Swally.
That had been on my list for quite a while, and every time I think about picking it, I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for this, because it sounds quite dark. But okay, we're going to go to the dark place for.
We are.
Fuck me, I'm going to have to pick something funny for the next.
A palate
wonderful.
cleanser.
Yeah, a wee palate cleanser. Okay, right, My Son. Okay, wonderful. I look forward to discussing that with you in the next episode. Okay, well, thank you so much for listening, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you would like to get in touch with us, you can. You can email us on cultureswally@gmail.com and just get in touch with anything you'd like us to cover or any news stories you've seen you'd like us to cover, or hey, just get in touch and say hello. You can follow us on the socials. We are on Insta @cultureswallypod, and we're on X, formerly known as Twitter, @swallypod. And we have a beautiful website as well, don't we, Greg?
We do. You can find us at cultureswally.com. which I just renewed and updated last week. So there's links to other episodes, some features and blog posts about Scottish TV and film. So come and give us some traffic on the old website.
Fantastic. And also check out doricskateboards.com as well. Right, wonderful, Greg. Well, it's a Wednesday. So
I know, on your bike.
It's very strange. Normally we're kind of like, right, what are you doing the weekend? But it's a Wednesday we're recording this. This is bizarre. I'm going to have to get this beasted because it comes out in 8 days' time.
It does.
I need to send it to you to...
So I can listen to it.
Approve. And I need to delete what I said earlier probably about Joanna Vanderham. So, yeah.
Well then, until next time.
Till next time.
Bravo, sandwich man.
I'm going again. Impossible. The WCF must have access.
Oh, 24 hours. That was what my manager agreed with the people here. So we've got the stadium till 10:30 tomorrow morning.
But Graeme.
9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
You English are mad.
You want to know what mad is? Try calling me English again.
I'm a Bavarian. I'm very proud to be called German. But I know you Irish Scots are always fighting. You can't help it, yeah?
Nice.